Yeah. Let's go ahead and just pull that away there. Should be good. We're live.
Hey.
Yeah, 3, 2, 1. Done. Right? Hello, Facebook Nation. We will be live with you here shortly. Mm-hmm. We are just now about to start our broadcast. Give me just a minute. Alzeri's over here making some cocktails for us, so I'm okay with that.
I think we're all going to be okay with that here in a minute.
Gunpowder proof.
Yep. All right, Brian, you ready? You got your stuff pulled up?
I'm ready.
All right. Let's do 3, 2, 1.
This is Drink Talk, where we try to solve the world's problems, one drink at a time. This week, we'll be having a mix of mixed drinks and talking about suicide awareness. We are your hosts, Brian and Britt, with special guest host, returning guest host, Mike, and new master bartender, Alzeri.
Gentlemen, welcome to my basement.
Glad to be here once again. Thanks for having me again.
Rolling out the welcome mat.
We like you here, Mike. You're good.
Yep. Please continue to come back, Mike. You're a wealth of knowledge on many varied topics.
It's so fun. It's so fun.
Mm-hmm. But you're in a new position now. Usually you're over here. Britt's over here. We've moved things around.
You know what, though? I feel like this will be exceptionally educational. The talks are always educational, but I get to stand here next to the master bartender.
Yeah, and watch.
So, yeah.
Pick up some tips, right?
I should learn a few things today.
Pick up some tips, yeah. So Britt made a friend, and why don't you talk about that a little bit, Britt? I'll get this queued up here.
I made a friend?
A friend.
Well, I made bacon.
Yep.
I don't get what you're saying. I made a friend.
Well, Alzeri, bring Alzeri.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, I've known Alzeri for a long time.
Apparently, you're not a friend.
Well,
didn't mean to overstep my bounds there.
Jeez.
Cry myself to sleep on that one.
Yeah, well, hey, no. Make a friend. I thought you were attributing to a new one, but I'm
no
like,
rum for you.
Yeah, I've met Alzeri quite a years back.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm glad that we finally were able to get him up on the show for us and make cocktails and stuff. You know, as he does.
Right.
Which, speaking of that, what is this first one you're making for us?
So we're starting right off with the classic cocktail called the Suicide. I will admit it generally would call for a Haitian-style rum, but for this particular drink, I have learned I prefer a Navy strength. Just a lot more to talk about, a lot more flavor.
Why not? And what's Navy strength all about?
So Navy strength, as I'm handing out the cocktails here, Navy strength means it is 114 proof. So I'm sorry, if you're going to do a drink of that caliber, raise up above 80.
My hair's just stood on end right now.
Yeah, this drink was a good foot and a half away from my face, and I caught a whiff.
Ooh.
So real quick, the cocktail
that's nice.
is
Caesar than I thought it was going to be.
114 proof rum, creme de cacao, a little bit of lime, topped with soda. Very easy to drink, very potent, despite the fact that it does not taste it.
Oh, for sure,
So just be careful.
Yeah.
Any questions on this one yet?
No, this is nice.
Because we're going to go variations of this afterwards. And the rum just gets stronger from here.
Perfect.
So can I ask more about Navy? I've never heard the term Navy strength before. Does it just mean that it's that's at 114 high proof?
No. That's actually one of the reasons why I like using it. Is because when I'm talking to folks at the bar, you always want to give them something more to go with than just it's good rum or it's a good product. The Navy strength implies that it is 114 proof. The whole process started back in colonial times with the Royal Navy, and you would have to pay your sailors in liquor wages on the voyage. So you would have it at 114 proof, so that therefore the most important thing was you could light it on fire. So that meant you could prove that you were not being cheated, as you're getting paid in rum. Officers got paid in gin, which is why there's Navy strength gin. But then on top of that, when if you're carrying around a drink, or if the barrel's split open and spills on gunpowder ignites. So you can still go to war.
Gunpowder.
Yeah.
You can still go to war.
We're gonna
with your
avoid the fire.
Gunpowder.
Exactly.
And
I know you guys all got wasted last night, kicked over a few barrels. We'll be all right though.
It's gonna be fine. The
here's the
cannon's
best.
still fire.
So the British Navy did not take rum rations out of their allowance until the 70s. It had always been there, and I can't remember the exact date because I drink a lot at the same time as study all this stuff. So,
Sure.
But it's a lot of fun to talk about. From here though, we do. I did bring a Navy strength gin just to have fun with it and talk more about that. But otherwise, from here, the suicide drink just gets better with a higher proof rum.
Well, and I was that first drink that I had right as you made them. It was good, but it had a little bit of punch. Now that the ice is diluting a little bit and it's getting a little colder, it's smoothing out.
Gorgeous, and the perfect variety for my way of doing it. It's 2 ounces of Navy strength rum, 1 ounce of creme de cacao. Then you use just a wedge of lime just for a little bit of citrus. Scoop in some ice, top with soda water. Very easy, very simple.
Yeah, nice.
But lots of flavor when you use good products.
With that said, we bought all of this alcohol at Spirit World. So if you're looking to buy some alcohol,
it's a good place
that's
to
where
find
you would go.
A wide variety of things.
They might even have a guy there who knows a thing about it.
Yeah, they might.
Maybe. Well, as we continue to drink on these, I do want to start the talk a little bit about here. And this is going to be a tough talk. Yes. This is not going to be... I wish we could be fun-loving all the time, but
it's going to be a sobering moment.
It is. Yeah, right.
Literally.
So September was National Suicide Prevention Month. And I wanted to talk about it back in September, but we just kind of got a full plate with the talks that we were doing in September. So
September was also... National Preparedness Month.
Yes, that's why we got a little tied up with stuff. Not that I wanted to put this on the back burner because it isn't a topic that everybody needs to know about. It is a topic everybody needs to know about, and we do have some tie-ins within the group here, and we'll get into that during the talk. But one of the things, there's a gal at our church that she works at the National Suicide Hotline. And she had told me that they don't actually consider it committing suicide anymore. It's death by suicide or they died by suicide. And the reason for that is because of that one word, commit. And when you think of that word, it's usually associated with things that are completely negative, like crimes. So they've tried to remove that.
And marriage.
Commit to
Sorry,
marriage.
I had to go there.
By the way, how many of you are married?
All of us.
Oh, good for you guys. Congratulations.
So, but I just thought that was interesting, the way that the semantics play into kind of the PR of this, if you want to call it that. So I wanted to delve into some of the military side of that as well. Britt, did you do research on the civilian side of that? I didn't want to do statistics much because anybody can look up statistics. I have some. I don't want to overly touch on those.
You really can't talk about suicide without talking about people's emotions, and depression being one of those. Mm-hmm. Depression is ultimately the link that links it to putting them over the edge. The more you see a depressed person, the more they're on the verge of possibly doing something of this nature.
And I think a lot of that has to do with the nature of depression, what they do. Like when somebody gets into depression, they start withdrawing from people and isolating themselves from family, and sometimes they've used drugs and alcohol more and that's a cause of, or depression causes that, and then leads to. Well,
and you also got to know when this is taking place. I mean, if you see that friend who's at home on a Saturday night, every Saturday night, and doesn't really even want to talk to you, something's going on there. You know, there's key evidence right there that tells me that he's probably and he's home alone. He's not with anybody else. He's just by himself. Oh, and we say him. It can be her as well. You know, but you've got to notice these small things in order to prevent this from happening. Go out, make a friend.
Mm-hmm. Right, yeah. Well, yeah. You're already starting to get into some of the ways we can help solve this.
Oh, absolutely.
You do like to jump ahead.
One of the things, Brian, about
I have no agenda.
One of the things, Brian, about that Boys Town hotline that you mentioned is, yes, it is the National Suicide Hotline, but they don't advertise it necessarily that way. If you're looking for a suicide hotline and you Google it, you'll certainly land there. But they call it a crisis hotline.
Okay.
So rather than saying, "Hey, this is the suicide hotline," it's the crisis hotline. So
is Boys Town's name associated with that, or is it just crisis hotline?
No, it's the Boys Town National Suicide Hotline and the Boys Town Crisis Hotline. There's also the crisis parenting hotline there. So I know people that work there, obviously, including the lady from our church. So I've learned enough about it. And I actually attended last week a big fundraiser event for donations, and it was a big gala to support the Boys Town National Suicide Hotline and Crisis Hotline and Crisis Parenting Hotline. So the parenting hotline is available for my teenager has bad behavior. Can you help me be a better parent? But it's also I'm worried about my teenager or whatever. Can you help me? And then the crisis hotline is really, I don't want to say marketed. That's not the right word. It's not marketing, but it's there for teenagers, especially who get themselves into a bind that they don't necessarily think they can find a way out of. The example that was given at the benefit the other night was, a kid's problem that happens every day in schools all over the country. Kid takes a lewd photo of themselves, and then they get blackmailed with it, right?
Yeah.
And they're too afraid to tell their parents or too afraid to tell a
Kids,
teacher.
Kids, if you're listening, which you shouldn't be because it's a drinking show, but if you are listening, don't take nude photos of yourself, because ultimately, once you get them on the computer, they're there forever.
To start with,
forever.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, and what happens is these teenagers send them to their boyfriend, girlfriend, which is obviously a temporary situation in those young kids' lives. And then they're out there.
You never know. You could marry your high school sweetheart. You never know.
Maybe.
There's
There's a statistical
a 2% chance. 2% chance.
From a bartender point of view, I'm going to go with negative.
Negative.
Right
Negative 2%.
Probably not.
2%.
Probably not.
The pattern's full. Please leave.
But the point is, those kids feel like there's no way out. They don't feel like they have anybody to talk to. They're ashamed. They feel like they've literally ruined their life, especially if those things get out on the internet and on social media. They don't see a way out, and they need somebody to talk to, and that's what those crisis hotlines are for.
Speaking of crisis hotline, you showed up with the big pizza box here from Godfathers.
Yeah, so
empty, by the way.
one of the things,
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I brought bacon, so I got the bacon.
You know what's funny is that I actually walked into a Godfather's Pizza and said, "Can I have a box of pizza, like a box?"
Just
and
a
they were
box.
They were like,
okay.
But you know what's funny is the guys at Godfather's were like, "For what?" And I showed them, and I was, and I go, "This." And they were like, "What is that?"
They work at Godfather.
Read it.
It's on every single Godfather's Pizza box in the country. It's the Boys Town National Crisis Hotline. Mm-hmm. It's right on every single Godfather's Pizza box you'll ever see. It's got the phone number on there, and it says Boys Town National Hotline. It does not say Suicide Hotline.
Is Godfather's in every state?
I don't think so.
Good question.
It's
I have
national,
no idea.
right?
No idea.
It is national, yeah.
It's national,
yeah.
but it's not in every state.
Okay.
Right.
Going on to our next drink, which these boys are going slow on.
Dear, are you kidding me?
What
do we
talking?
got? Yeah.
So-
What do we got for the next one here?
So it's still the same theme. We're gonna every drink we're gonna do moving forward. We'll have the same basis theme of rum, a chocolate presence, express citrus, splash of soda water.
Mm-hmm.
What we did is we upped our rum to the 69%. So
Oh, made it more alcoholic.
what is that?
Perfect.
138%.
Yes.
So
Proof, right.
69%, 138 proof.
Mm-hmm.
Lights on fire.
Yeah, right?
Don't light a match, gentlemen. But what we did is I have replaced the creme de cacao and I use a chocolate bitters.
Mm.
So everyone has or has been to a bar. They have that yellow label, yellow cap,
Which we have right here.
wrapped
Yeah.
paper,
Yeah, you pull that out.
Every
You
friggin'
show
bar
that
has.
off if you want to.
and that's what
It's a little-
they consider bitters. That
This
is
is what you get at your local grocery
Yeah.
store.
Yeah. Oh, no, I can see it perfect.
that
nice,
is
nice.
the bitters.
The bitters.
However, bitters expands much farther than that to things such as
There's got to be
chocolate
40
bitters.
different kinds of bitters, all right?
The best way to approach bitters, it's like your vanilla extract. It's a concentrated flavor. So you have chocolate bitters, we have cherry bitters. I mean, there's so many things out there. I learned to bartend using all the schnapps and the creme de cacaos and creme de menthe and all that other
I like
nonsense.
that. Cacao.
Cacao. Yeah, it's just fun to say it that way.
It does. Cacao.
But as a craft,
Bartender.
quotation,
Yes.
craft
You're a
bartender.
craft
In air
bartender.
quotes.
I know, but it's kind of like a.
I'm a drink talk bartender. That's all I
There we
am.
go. Good for
You're
you.
a professional bartender.
I think
I
I
am
see
a
what you're
professional.
saying,
I
though,
get
right? The word craft bartender has really kind of been bastardized.
Well,
by,
the thing is, I'm going to make a good drink no matter what I'm serving. It's just what I do.
Oh, this is
This
way
is so much better.
Way
Higher proof,
better.
less mixer, just a significantly better
And
cocktail.
I taste that hint of chocolate in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just nice.
Yeah. If we're going to be drinking this fast, I'm going to have to slow
Well,
it down.
we got a dump bucket back there too.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Alright.
if we need
Yeah.
if we need dump
I'll
bucket,
just,
we
I'll
can.
just sample and then move on, I guess.
you can have a sip of my glass if you're not scared of germs.
No,
There's
that's all right.
138 proof
Yeah.
that says that this is not contagious.
Well,
Yeah, I'm
and
pretty
I
sure
got Brits over here
the
too.
germs are beat.
We got a dump bucket, so if we need to use it, we use it.
I know,
So-
that just sounds so wrong.
It does sound so wrong,
Yeah, I
but
don't want to. Yeah, because these
you know,
are delicious.
but
That
we're
would be
responsible.
shameful.
you know, there is a part in that. Alcoholism is leads right into the
Yeah.
whole thing we're about to be talking
Right.
about here. So
that is something I wanted to bring up. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, here we are talking about suicide, and it's like
And even the drink's a little insensitive to it, but
Yeah.
I didn't name them.
the drink
Yeah.
numbs it,
Yes.
right? It numbs the pain.
well, I don't know. I mean, I think it turns off some inhibitors for people, and that's how they
Yeah.
slip a little further into it. So you got to be a little careful on how much you drink, which we've always promoted drinking responsibly.
Yes.
I hesitate for the sake of tackiness to bring up the Homer Simpson quote that alcohol is the cause of and solution to all of life's problems.
that is true. Yeah.
Solving the world's problems one drink at a time.
One drink at a time.
Yeah.
That's right.
I just like that. Alcohol is technically a solution.
Yeah,
It is. It is. It
Right,
really
it
is.
is.
Yeah.
But with that, we are all drinking water as well. So
Yeah.
drink
Yeah.
responsibly.
Wherever
Oh,
the
show.
camera is, there we go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, yeah. Brian,
Mm-hmm.
you want to dive us into our next little talk? Since
So
you've got
the,
notes and stuff, and we don't.
I do. So most of the research that I did was from the military side of it. Not to discount the civilian side of it, but because I am prior military, it kind of hits me a little harder, just because I have more of a tie-in to it. And I mean, I do as a civilian too, but now that I am a civilian, but I just it was part of my life for a long time, so I want to
Yeah.
it's like family. to me.
We'll get back to the civilian side, but let's
Yeah.
dive into the Navy because we'll get back to tell some stories about friends of ours that
Right. So, an interesting little, interesting may be the not a great word for it, but suicide actually causes more military deaths than combat. So,
but why is
suicide
that?
Suicide is the number one killer
That's an eye opener.
today.
Yeah,
in
I've never-
in today's modern
hold
combat.
on. Let me get this straight. More people die of suicide through the military
In the military, active
than
duty,
they do
yeah, and
actually in
reserves.
battle.
Right.
That's what you're saying.
That's correct.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
So, and of the branches, the Army has the highest number of suicides.
Really?
Probably because the Army is the largest branch of them. Navy's pretty darn close, but Marines is actually a pretty small branch comparatively. And it peaked, suicides in the military peaked in 2012, and I don't know 100% why, but my educated guess would be because we had the troop surge from 2009 to 2011. So I think that the multiple deployments on people just got to people, and by 2012, they were in full swing where suicides were up there.
Well, certainly there's just some statistical, anomalies that happen. More people means more suicides in theory, right?
That's yep, absolutely. Without those were ones heading into combat, but which they say, like I said, the suicide causes more death than combat, and a lot of the people that they're seeing, they may have seen combat, they may not have seen combat. Maybe it was just the prospect of multiple deployments or deployments without end. Veterans themselves, once they get out of the military, still have a 50% higher chance of suicide than civilians. And actually, a really sad statistic is when you're talking about military or veteran deaths, the average age is like 60, because I don't know why. It just is. So
I'm sure they've done a study on
60s
why.
what? 60s what? A Vietnam vet?
probably,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
It just
be right about that. I mean, they would have been pretty young.
Yeah,
Into
those
that.
would be young
Yeah.
Vietnam vets.
Yeah.
It blows my mind to just think of that statistic and what research have they done to check out if this is what is the cause, is it because they went to war and they've seen such travesty of what's happening and they look at their own life and they think, oh, I don't have my crap together, or it's life's just not worth living anymore.
Well, to me,
I just
to
don't.
me, and this is just my thought, right, based on
Yeah.
not science, or I didn't read a book, but
No.
it's just to me, especially when I think of the teenagers. I'm going away from the military piece. It's people who don't feel like they have an answer to a problem, right?
Or purpose.
Who don't feel like they have a way out of a particular situation, right? They're thinking, I don't know what to do. I have no other way. I have no other way to fix this thing or answer this question or whatever it is, and so then they resort to suicide as an
think
answer.
about it. You watch any movie that has a TV drama teenage person, like their life is the end of the world.
Right.
You know, like they don't have any other perception. Like,
Oh yeah,
High-
the kids these days, you take away their phone, that's the end of their world.
Well, if you think about it in perspective, though, I mean, their life is relatively short in comparison to the number of years that they've been on this earth compared to what we have been on this earth. So in their 14, 13, 15, whatever, you know, that is a big thing, because in their life, that probably is the worst thing that's ever happened
Yeah.
for most people that age.
I do get what you said though, because you said, you know, or a sense of purpose, right? So either you're stuck without a solution, you don't know what to do, you don't have a way out, or what you said is you don't have a purpose, right?
Right.
I don't know what I'm here for, I don't know what my value is, and so those are the kinds of questions where that can lead down that path. And I think that you're right, probably is more might be more attuned for the
those
military.
people need to know that their life is valuable. They, you know, maybe they're not doing something awesome right then at 16 years old, 18 years old, whatever. But when you're 37 years old, you're going to be running something, and it's going to be amazing what you're doing with your life, you know. But they just don't see to the future, you know. They're just seeing what's happening right now.
Well, we're in a society of the right now.
Oh yeah.
So-
I need it right now.
Instant gratification.
My son watching TV, a little toy commercial going on. Daddy, I want that. I need that right now. You know, it's like no. Maybe like for Christmas. He's like, is Christmas tomorrow? I'm like, no, it's not.
For him, it's a long time away, because percentage-wise, that's a very long time. Back to the purpose. So when I started doing research for this, I do have a friend of mine that I've known for a little while, and he got me tied into a lot of these groups that help. And I do want to get into that, and I want to give them quite the shout-out so people have information on that. But one of the gentlemen from the groups, he actually sent me, and he's been on both sides of the helping and hurting. So he has been on both sides of that. And he sent me 2 documents that he wrote himself. And he said, these are the 2 documents that I actually give to a lot of people to kind of explain where I'm coming from. And I did want to read it, but it's quite long. So I'm going to try and paraphrase it a little bit. And it's called The Nightmare. And what he is a combat veteran. He had spent time in Iraq and spent time in Afghanistan. And he said the whole premise of it was, I would rather be the nightmare. Because instead of being in a nightmare, he would rather be the nightmare, the one causing the nightmare. So he has control of that. He said these soldiers, they go over, and he himself was about 230 pounds, 6'5". You load him down with military equipment, he's a pretty intimidating guy.
Right.
And then you throw him and 40 of his buddies around, you're going to run for the hills when you see them coming. And his job, you know, was to lay down what, you know, righteous, God-fearing, whatever needed to be done kind of stuff.
Right.
And so he, in their eyes, was the nightmare. And when he came back home, when he got out of the military, he had lost his purpose. And he was no longer the nightmare. He was having the nightmare, because he wasn't that guy anymore. And that's what he was trained to do, and that's all he knew for years.
Right.
So it was a really, really good, well written
Yeah,
page.
I
But
mean,
it's
I
just-
like how
it's
you.
really long.
Like I said, that they lose purpose.
Yeah.
You know, in life, like they were something big and part of something, and then they get older, you know, in their 60s, and they're just like, I'm
Well,
nothing.
what do I do now?
What do I?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just nothing.
Yeah,
I'm waking up. I'm, you know, going to the bathroom, eating food, and going back to bed.
Well, there's
you know?
probably something to be said for the regiment of military life too, right? So you know exactly what you're going to do every moment of every day, and then you're discharged and you go home, and you're sitting at home watching American Idol, going, now,
What am I doing
now,
with my life?
Now
this
what?
is what I do now.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Well, and also when you get back, and I have firsthand been part of this, was when you get back from deployments. I did back-to-back deployments, and when you come back and you enter civilian life, they give you like a 2-day course on re-entering civilian life and all that, which is fine.
Yeah, it should be more like a week long, shouldn't it? Like,
But
not just 2 days.
It doesn't really matter, because when you go home, the
You
people
get a
at home-
certificate. You made it through the 2-day class.
unless you have friends that have been in the military, they're just people that just don't understand. They just don't get it. They don't, you know, especially if they haven't been overseas. So that is why you see when you get home, military members or veterans gravitate towards other veterans.
Right.
Which is why the VFW is probably quite big with veterans, because those guys get
Well, it gives
in
them
there.
somewhere to go. Gives
Well,
them.
and
Not
somebody
necessarily that.
who
Just
knows
people,
you.
exactly.
He knows what you're talking about.
Well, it's like Cheers. Everybody knows your name. You know, you go down to the VFW.
Yep. So there's that's another part of it is you just feel lost. So back to some of the groups. One of them that is very helpful, and I've got a list here of several Battlefield Ministries, and
What is a Battlefield Ministry?
Battlefield Ministries. So this is a group that is helping veterans get through.
Can we pause on that for a second? Let's kind of talk about this drink just a little bit more. Everybody's actually got one in their hands now.
Now that
everybody's actually got one in their hands, let's cheers on this. I'm actually tasting the chocolate in there
Right.
at the end.
Yeah, I get the
It
chocolate.
finishes up really nice. And
What's
again,
the name of this one?
it's still the same drink. We're just
Oh, is it?
taking
Oh, okay.
variations
Yeah,
of it.
Okay,
but
gotcha.
what's the variation on
So
this?
the variation, we used a different rum. We used a higher proof rum. We used chocolate bitters instead of using a creme de cacao liqueur. So you're just, it becomes more straight booze, but we still ice it down, and we still, in case you.
But it's got a whole different flavor to it.
So when somebody orders this drink, I mean, is there a typical? And then there's the one.
first one is what
That's
you
the
would
typical.
typical.
Okay, so you would have to special order this version.
Well, you just have to have a bartender who gets excited about the drink and is
Oh.
going to actually talk to you about the drink instead of just saying, "Oh,
I'll just make
There
it.
you go.
Here's
Now
your
this is called the
cookie cutter
Devron.
version.
that yes,
The Devron.
Devron.
Or if you look it up online, you can look it up online. It's kind of what we're talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
well, he
right.
already said it.
Let
at the
all the
beginning.
Devron
You did
little
say
nervous
you did say
chocolate.
suicide drink.
Yeah.
It's
Nervous
actually called the
chocolate.
Devron.
Yeah, Devron.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's
back.
delicious.
Yeah,
though.
sorry,
This one seems much sweeter to me than the first
It's
one.
because of the chocolate. The
Yeah,
chocolate
the
bitters.
chocolate, yeah.
I've actually added less sweetener to it. It's just the way your palate translates those flavors.
Yeah, fair enough. I think it's the rum because it tastes like brown sugar to me.
Yeah.
It tastes like almost molasses.
Yeah, I get that too.
And that would be rum.
Yeah, that's rum, which is rum, right?
Yeah.
That would,
The
you
molasses.
ferment it, then you distill it to about 160 proof, water it down to this one to
138.
138 proof.
So not much.
A little bit. It
A
matters.
little bit of yep.
Add water and stir.
But fermented and distilled sugar. Delicious.
Oh, it's delicious. And I stirred mine with bacon.
That sounds
It's a
amazing.
good call.
Yeah.
Attaboy.
Why not?
Again, back to these. These
talk
groups.
about the
No,
Battlefield
no, it's
Ministry.
fine. It's
Sorry.
fine.
I just
yeah.
wanted to.
So that is how I got plugged into these groups. Was my friend Eric? I reached out to him and I said, "Hey, this is what we're doing on Sunday." And he's
Well,
like,
it's a tough topic, where
Yeah.
it's like,
I have been
another one bites the dust, you
Yeah.
know? Oof.
Well, and that's the whole thing with veterans. That 22 a day that I had talked to you about. That's kind of their mantra is 22 veterans a day, and that includes active duty, retired, veterans, reserve. That all encompassing 22 a day, which seems pretty daunting.
Right.
But he ended up tying me into several of these groups, and these guys were just
No. 22 a day. They're doing 22 veterans a day, essentially.
Yeah.
Is that purely because of suicide, or is that suicide and because they're dying of natural causes,
No,
or
this is suicide.
purely suicide?
Purely suicide.
That's nuts, though.
Yeah, just to think
That's-
about.
That's a person choosing to end their life almost every hour.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that is just a punch in the gut, man.
Yep. Well, and another punch in the gut. And while we're on the punch in the gut, one of the other guys I talked to, I actually called the guy. I gave him my number. He called me, and he is the founder of Joint Task Force 22-0, and that's another group that you can go out to. And
I like the sound of that.
Yeah,
Get it
it's-
down to 0 instead of being at 22.
Yep, he's prior military as well, and he's also been on both sides. He's been on the hurting and the helping side, and so he gets it. And he was telling me that the way the VA is going, because you would think that the VA would have a handle on this and be helping out, because it is in national news. People know about it now. But what he's saying is they're finding veterans that actually commit suicide in the parking lots of the VA, because you go to the VA, they're booked up. So you go back to your car. You come back the next day, they're booked up. So you go back to their car, and then the next day, they're booked up. So
That's
at
what,
some point,
that's what I was going to say. Is unfortunately, you also hear the VA in the news for not doing a great job.
Yep.
Of what they're supposed to do.
I have a good buddy of mine, Jake. He, he'll swear by the VA. I
Yeah.
mean, he's had problems in his life where he's had to go there and take care of business, essentially, and they have just done the world for him, and so you get the good, the bad, and the ugly from
Probably
and you
depends
can
on
do
where you
that
are.
any hospital you go to.
Yeah, here's hoping you get the good one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So his suggestion to help out with that is never go alone. And he said
that's a great idea.
Yep, never. Well, and that he said that applies to life, not just going to your VA appointment. That's in life.
I would assume that a lot more or a lot less deaths would happen if you went with somebody, because you've got somebody there to care for you and buddy
Or keep you
when,
accountable.
When you're there by yourself, just like you were saying, things run through your brain
you
that
get trapped in your own black hole of your
emotions.
thoughts.
Yeah. And that's not a good place to be. You at least want to have a friend or two out there that you can rely on. You can call in a time of. And that's another thing. If any of you listening to this program right now are suffering with depression, suffering with suicidal thoughts, call someone. Call a friend. Call your mom. Call your dad. Call the suicide hotline. What's the number? Can you give us the number there?
1-800-448-3000.
There you go.
Also, 1-800-SUICIDE is the number.
Yeah.
And that will get
people want to talk to you. Life is worth living.
Can I just mention the number that they threw out at the event that I went to for the National Suicide Hotline the other day? They took the Boys Town hotline by themselves. There are several hotlines. Boys Town is only one. They took 180,000 phone calls last year. 180,000.
Wow, 180,000.
Kind of gives you a glimpse as to how many people are in want.
Right.
Like if you think about
in crisis, right?
Yeah.
That's the best way I think to describe it. They're in a crisis situation where they need somebody.
If you take that 180,000 number and you look at what actually people would have actually done, look at all the ones that they've helped. Stop that.
And the last thing I'll plug for the Boys Town hotline is that if you go to yourlifeyourvoice.org, which is the Boys Town webpage, yes, right in big red font on the front is the 800 number 448-3000, but there's also text messaging, email, phone calls, and then on-screen chat. So there's an IM box on there where you can just chat. You can just type right into it. So they have every form of communication.
Yeah, we just had to shake up the ice a little bit.
Yeah, no problem. So yeah, they have every method of communication on that website.
Elzer, you'd let me know when you need more ice. I got more in the back.
I wish I had the statistics on the rest of it, but I know that there is a staff there of over a dozen people that just sit there and text with people.
It makes it easy. It makes it so easy.
And a bit more anonymous, so people are maybe a little bit more willing to communicate.
I wonder if I'm sure they've got an app. I'm sure they got an app for it too. Just download an app and talk to somebody.
Yeah, that whole texting that's reaching a whole level of population, because I know that there's like the millennials and younger. They're all about.
Sometimes they just want to hear from somebody who cares.
Right.
Granted. Most of these people on the suicide prevention hotlines, it is a job, but they take their job seriously.
Well, they have that job because they care.
Exactly.
I mean, they wouldn't.
It's not for the big money.
No.
Yeah, I wouldn't think. I mean, that's a tough job to take. You got to think, right? I couldn't do it. No way. No way could I sit there and take those phone calls.
Well, especially when you're on the phone with actually somebody who's ready to just be done with it.
Well, think about the psyche of the person that does that every day.
Right. And there are people that have worked there for 30 years.
That's crazy. I mean, you are helping people.
Oh,
you are helping
directly.
People. But I mean, that's you're dealing with people at their worst, and that's crazy. I mean, that's.
I couldn't.
Thanks for the sound effects there.
I know.
Elzer's lightening the mood a little bit.
On it.
Well, the hard part for me is all this is as I spend a lot of time behind the bar talking to people, and yes, you will hear a lot of sad tales.
The sob stories, yeah.
And like it, but to me,
but you're there to lighten their mood.
Correct, at the same time, I know alcohol is not always the right solution from some folk.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, when that's the fact that they're sitting at the bar.
When they're 6 drinks in, you're like, I see where you're going,
But trying to get blackout drunk.
Yeah, they're sitting at the bar.
You 2-3 drinks in, that's fine.
You're
but
introducing
6.
to everyone down the bar. When someone comes in and has a bad day, you don't. I mean,
you try to cheer them up.
Yeah, you don't even think about it like you're trying to do anything for them. You just, hey, well, this guy's feeling lonely or whatever. There just happens to be a girl standing there. No, don't hook them up, but make a conversation. Just make them feel
It sounds
connected.
like you've got a story that this happened one time.
Well, there's lots of
You got a story? Let's hear a story.
Well, no, not yet.
You can change the names to keep them anonymous.
Yeah,
no, exactly.
A lot of years behind a bar, and it's a lot of people I've met, and you hear These people, they'll come in, they'll talk about their bad day, and you pay attention, it's not today. Mm-hmm. They're saying this one bad thing happened today, but nobody's that upset about today.
There's something else that built up.
And so you say, yeah, come back in sometime. I'll get you your next drink the next time you come in, mm-hmm. which I never do because that's illegal in the state of Nebraska. But at any rate, you invite them back in and just try to create that. And again, it's tricky because you're not trying to say, yes, come to the bar and get drunk. But the bar is intended to be social. It's intended to have a good time.
Yeah.
And you're there with people who are looking to have a good time.
Oh, yeah.
And if you keep the drinking under control, then that's what you have.
But everyone's seen it. That one person at the end of the bar that's by themselves and just drinking their sorrows away.
Sure.
Not to say that one person is, suicidal. He might just be the drunk guy that's at the end of the bar, but that's how it all starts. It goes into into the depression mode because he's there by himself.
Not
leads
once,
me to believe,
but twice,
or three,
and the third time, and he's just going to keep feeling more and more isolated, and it's just going to build on top of that.
But then your psyche's like, is he coming here because he enjoys hanging out with me because I'm the bartender?
I think that.
Right,
you've met me. I'm awesome.
Exactly.
I do want to point out that's a good point because what's been kind of rolling in my head here is that there's these cycles, right? And drinking's a bad one.
Well, and we're starting to get into the cycle right now with there being 4 holidays right in a row. We've got Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's Eve. There's 4 holidays right in a row. And if you even wanted to include it, Valentine's Day. There's 5 holidays.
That's
boom, 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 boom. It's very depressing. If you've got nobody to be there with, it's depressing.
No, I went the other way.
That'll beat you.
Gotcha.
I'm looking at it more like a micro scale. Like there's the cause and effect, right? If you have a bad day and you feel like crap, so you go to the bar and you get blackout drunk, and then you're late for work and you suck at your job the next day. So now work's not going well for you, and people are judging you. So what do you do?
Vicious cycle.
You go to the bar, right? And
I drank too much.
And now you're tired, and your diet's gone horribly, and you're unhealthy, and now you're feeling physically unwell. And over the course of time, it's just a snowball, right? And things just get worse and worse and worse and worse. And so you kind of have to find a way. The hardest thing, I think, for a lot of people is to break that cycle and go, you know what? I'm not going to drink today, and tomorrow I'm going to get up and go to the gym.
And I'm going to feel better about my life.
I'm going to feel better about my life.
And there's people at the gym that might want me there,
Yeah, but
mostly the trainers are like, hey,
that's
get me on my dime.
That's a tough cycle to break, man. That's a tough cycle to break, especially by yourself.
And that's just it. You almost never can break that cycle on your own. Because
never go it alone.
Because you'll get trapped in your own process. Your own cause and effect. You're like, no, that's fine. I'll be okay this time. Mm-hmm. But then you've just restarted the cycle, and you're right back where you started.
Right. Or you move that bar to where oh no, now this is okay.
Yeah.
And you move that bar. Oh no, this is okay.
I'm drinking closer to home, so now I'm being more responsible.
Oh yeah.
I've almost never made that decision.
I'm in my basement right now.
I'm drinking by myself at home. Okay, no, that's good because I'm not on the streets, right? So. Yeah, they move that dial to what makes it more.
I have 160 feet of liquor in my home. Yeah, we have to be very careful on if I have a bad day. We don't grab anything. Mm-hmm. Just leave it. It'll be there tomorrow.
Exactly. I do want to bring up a couple other groups that are helpful. This one actually, the gentleman that sent me that the nightmare letter is from this group, and it's called Drinking Brothers Vigilant Guard. Mm-hmm. So kind of like what we're doing here, but more keeping an eye on
Speaking of doing it here, I'm going to give a big shout out to Mark. He's actually made 3 or 4 comments. And
do we need to take some viewer comments?
Well, no, he's just saying evening gents, and then he was saying drinking while depressed equals no bueno. And he says never do it alone. So, I mean, he's with us right here. So I just want to do a little shout out for Mark.
Yep.
Thanks for watching.
Yes. Thank you. Drinking Brothers Vigilant Guard, and the next one would be AVA.
So what's that one, Brian? Drinking Brothers. Is that just guys that?
Yeah, those top 3: the Battlefield Ministries, Joint Task Force 22-0, and Drinking Brothers Vigilant Guard. All 3 of those are more the military style band of brothers that are looking out for each other. The Battlefield Ministries is more all-encompassing, where they're helping people out in trouble, not necessarily in a crisis, but just helping people out that are down on their luck and all that. The Joint Task Force 22-0, that's more specifically on suicide, but it's helping people in crisis. And then the Drinking Brothers Vigilant Guard, that's kind of keeping an eye on your brothers.
Those are the burnt pieces.
To keep them from heading south.
That's all right.
So
she didn't want to waste them.
No, they're fantastic.
The burnt ends of the...
Yeah, she didn't want to waste the burnt ends, so she put them in a cup.
That's why you love it.
Brilliant. Yeah, she's like, well, I'm not going to throw them away. I'm like, yeah, don't throw those away. We will eat them.
Take this caramelized sugar and bacon and put it in a bowl.
Exactly.
Well, before I talk about more of the groups, is this a new?
This is a new
version?
cocktail. Same basic principle. He doesn't have one.
I cannot hang.
It's all right.
And I'm fine with that.
We're
Well, these are
take your time, buddy. Take your time.
Short portions.
We're still here,
and
we're here for you.
we're gonna cheers over here though.
Yeah,
I'll still do that.
yeah. Oh, yeah. We'll cheers with it.
Oh, sorry. There.
Chance.
So the important thing though, what I like about this style of presenting cocktails, we have the same drink, just variations, and none of them.
Yeah,
taste
no
the same.
no chocolate. There's no chocolate in this one.
I actually put more chocolate. It just hits it differently with this different rum.
I don't even taste it.
I almost have a licorice kind of flavor in my mouth.
Really, stirring these,
like-
huh? Sorry.
That's all right. I'll just lick it off.
Yeah. By the way, when at first the bitters are not cutting it, add more.
What's here? What are we doing?
Oh, it's the bitters.
Yeah.
So essentially,
Try it out.
you put salt on your food when you want it to have a little more flavor. When you're talking cocktails, yes, you can
Right?
put salt.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's-
just chocolate concentrate.
That's like real life right there.
Yeah. Awesome in a
Is this
lot
just
of drinks.
reality?
Yeah.
Going in a landslide, no escape from. No, we
Yes,
can't sing it. There's
Yeah.
some rights there. We
Yeah.
gotta stop.
Let's not.
Yeah, I'm just not feeling that bohemian today.
No, not at all.
That was
Especially
awesome.
when I imagined this evening, like, I have to admit, like, I had like Wayne's World stuck in my head.
I had heard that, and we always do this where we do little side tangents, but I had heard that in Wayne's World, he almost didn't make that movie because they weren't going to include the song in that. And that was kind of his, like, no,
tipping point.
we're
Yeah.
doing the song, or I'm not doing the movie.
It's happening.
Yeah.
Good
I
for
was
him.
kind of hoping you guys were going to play Dreamweaver when you introduced me, but
If we could do that.
If we had the rights to it.
Yeah.
They didn't play it, but I heard it in my head.
There you go. Fair enough. Oh, so I'm gonna, I guess, get into some stories.
Yeah, we all have some
we
stories.
all have the stories of a friend of a friend of a friend of a relative of somebody who was close to you,
Or a neighbor.
that was close to you. I mean, I guess that would be one of my first experiences with suicide. Was one of my neighbors. I was at a very young age. Just fresh into high school. I had to be 14, 15 years old. Travis, my next door neighbor, he, right before we went into high school, we all went on this trip. His parents talked to my parents, and they were like, hey, we're going to take Britt to Illinois with us. And we went up there, and we went four-wheeling and fishing and boating, and it was just a blast. And Travis and I were really close. But he, went to a different school, and I went to a different school, even though we lived right across the street from each other. Apparently, in his freshman year of high school, we kind of went separate ways because, I was swimming, I was in the theater, I was doing 100 things, and we just didn't hang out as much anymore. Well, he got into doing drugs, and he fell in with a bad crowd. By his sophomore year of high school, he ended up putting a gun to his head and blowing his brains out in the house, a couple houses down from me. Yes, the family, the mom, dad, I can't imagine what they're going through. But me as a friend, what am I going through? To have that feeling of a friend that you went, no, I was just hanging out with him just,
it doesn't
couple
seem
weeks
real.
ago. No, it was just a couple weeks ago. He was fine. It was no big deal. Yeah, I didn't hang out with him this last year because, we all went to all different schools. But no, he was a good kid. And it's just, it boggles my mind when that happened. I was I was the ripe age of not even 15 years old, going on 16, and I'm just like, what just happened to my best friend?
Well, and that's something that we don't.
Best friend,
with the
neighbor friend.
You can look at all the statistics with suicide and all that, but what it doesn't show is the amount of people affected by suicide. It's not just you. That's the whole thing of it. I mean, you are tied to how many people, and all those people are going to be affected by you being gone.
Yeah.
Whether it's
you want to end your life. you got to think also about the people around you.
Yeah, everyone
your
you think
friends,
don't
your family.
Well,
Your,
that's the thing. They're not. If they did,
they're not. I mean,
they-
your tenant. I mean, if you're in an apartment, like everyone's going to be affected by you,
Mhm.
and that's
and unfortunately,
selfish.
and unfortunately, those
I
people don't
wouldn't
know
say
that.
but yes.
Yeah. And unfortunately, those people don't know that until the day of the funeral,
Yeah.
when everybody comes out for them, which is already too late for that person. So,
Because
And everybody could have been there for.
Because when
that
you're
person.
in that dark moment, the thing is that there's always somebody who cares about you. And the problem is when you make that dark choice, you have just hurt the handful of people who genuinely
Or more.
care.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm saying. Like no matter how alone you feel, there's somebody out there who cares, and you just hurt them with that choice.
Yep.
So
Well, speaking of hurting people, this just happened not too long ago. The kid who committed suicide online. He was online, and his
yeah.
girlfriend, or whatever
Kinda
she
pushed him
was,
over the edge.
pushed him over the edge. And it's just like, what kind of person are you to, manipulate his life like that? I mean, he must have been in a weird place that I don't even know. He could have been on drugs. I don't know. But, I mean, that's...
or her.
Or her.
I mean, but you think about
That's
it.
sadistic.
Oh,
Yeah, but that's what the internet has kind of created, that air of anonymity where things aren't really real. So
Yeah.
like,
Oh no,
you put
this
some-
kid just killed himself. Oh, it's just the internet. No.
No,
He
that
just
was a
died.
person.
He
That was
just
a person.
died.
Yep.
Your story, Britt, kind of makes me think of the guy from Lincoln Park, right?
Oh, yeah.
Chester.
Yeah.
Chester Bennington.
I don't remember his name, but yeah.
Lincoln Park.
Yeah, but you see there were videos, pictures of him with his family, with his friends, like the day prior, just laughing, having a good time. He did Lincoln Park, including Chester, did carpool karaoke on YouTube, their own version of it, and this was like a couple of months or a month before he decided to take his life. What the hell, how do you get from there
60
to
to
there,
0 in
Yeah.
a couple days, or a day.
The comedian I'm thinking of just passed away, killed himself out of depression. Mork and Mindy.
Robin Williams.
Robin
Yeah.
Williams.
How we
He
forgot
was
that
on the
name, I
top
don't
of
know.
his game. Like, he was making awesome movies.
But there was he was fighting demons for a long time. Like he just kept it hidden from the public eye.
Yeah, but with a man of his stature and a man of his ability to do whatever. I mean, go ride a jet ski. That makes
He has
everybody
means,
happy.
is what we're getting at. He has
Yeah, but
means to solve problems.
Oh, yeah.
He's not in a.
Yeah.
He's not backed in a corner with no other solution.
What
He has-
made him go into
That he
rut?
knew of. I mean, he.
Well, fair enough.
And that's the thing. You fight you don't know what these people are the demons that these people are fighting. I mean, it could be something that is you have no idea
Yeah.
what it
It's
is.
very easy for me to sit here in the life I'm happy with, and then to question why other people aren't.
Right.
Exactly. Carly and I were actually just talking the other night because we were talking about this discussion there. Would you call a drug overdose a suicide?
Probably not.
With
Because
that,
it's intent. I think.
well,
Yeah,
Chris
it's
Chris
intent,
Farley.
yeah.
Chris
I go the
Farley.
intent.
I mean, you're in the moment, and
I do want to touch before we
I
get a little
don't
too
think
far.
he meant to kill himself. I
No,
don't think he did,
no.
but he partied to an extent where
But do most
he
people
overdid
get
it.
out of that in a good place? That's
No.
what I'm saying. Like,
I do before we get on this too much of a side tangent. I did want to touch more on the Robin Williams because you did bring up something. The
When
things
we
that,
talk, sometimes it brings
I
things
know,
out of
right?
people.
So there was this video that I saw of Robin Williams, and it was shortly after the Mork and Mindy had ended, and he was reviving his stand-up comedy routine. And he's up there on stage, and people are just heckling him, just do Mork, and he's like, no, I'm trying to do this is my new thing. I'm trying to do this. Let me just do my routine here. And they're like, do Mork, and that went on for like 10 minutes. And he's like, fine, and caved and did that. And you kind of wonder, like, you and I look at his life from the outside and say, man, this man had millions of dollars. He was in a lot of movies.
Well, and with that said, I almost want to think of Jim Carrey right now. I don't know if you guys have seen his latest stuff that's happening.
yeah.
Like,
is he brilliant or is he off his freaking rocker?
Is he going off the rails?
right?
Yeah.
Is he leading down the face of depression?
Well,
No, and we're talking about movie stars, and that's fine. But
yeah. And you gotta think with some movie stars.
his mind is way out there right now.
Yeah.
Especially that interview that he had. It was kind of like, what's going on here?
Mm-hmm.
Did they come to a conclusion with the civil suit against him for wrongful death?
Who?
Jim
Rob-
Carrey.
Oh yeah, who was that? That was his girlfriend. Yeah,
His girlfriend.
Yeah.
Apparently, they found it on a tablet. Not necessarily a suicide note, but like a,
I don't know.
a letter of accusation saying you did this to me. You brought me here.
Oh man, that brings up.
Okay, yeah, okay. Let's talk about that. You brought me here. You made me do this. Well, you did this to yourself. I did not insert the knife or shoot the bullet or whatever. I didn't do that to you. You did that on your own reconnaissance.
Because there's always a way out.
Reconnaissance.
In your own mind.
Just saying.
You know where I'm going with that?
I
do.
100%.
So if she left a note saying that it was his fault,
there's that court
because
case,
she led him to it.
There's a court case of a girl who was like young, like I don't know how young, probably maybe 15, that texted her boyfriend over and over saying, if you really mean it, if you really think you're sad, then do it. Like she texted him for days and
wasn't
days.
That the one?
And
Was
days.
that the one?
Is that what I was talking about?
Yeah,
I think this one I was
might
talking
have
about.
been,
And he did it online. I mean, it was.
Yeah, maybe that was the same one.
Yeah,
but yeah, she went and she's in jail, right? She
I
went
mean,
to prison. I think.
they looked at that and they were like, "No, you push him over the edge."
Right.
Well,
So yeah, I guess it could be. You know.
Yeah.
Now, Azuri, I don't know if you have Netflix, but I know you guys have Netflix. So
Yeah.
there's a.
I think everybody has.
I'm not on
Netflix.
Facebook, but yes.
That's
I
all
have
right. That's
Netflix.
right.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
So you can go back and watch the video. Excellent. So there's a series on Netflix called 13 Reasons Why, and I don't know if you've heard
I haven't
of it or
watched
seen
it.
it.
It's on my wish or to watch list.
I actually just watched the first episode tonight because I had heard from people like, if you're talking suicide, you need to do this, because the whole premise of the show is this gal commits suicide, but she creates these tapes as to the people that were in her life that led to this point, and it's kind of a mystery, but it also shows.
If she had one on me, I'd be like, I don't even want to watch it.
Well, and here's the thing is, like, the main character gets this package and it's got all these tapes in it, and the cassette tapes, and so he puts the first one in, and she's like, just so you know, if you've received this, you're the reason why this happened, and these 13 tapes are going to tell you why this happened, and your name is in here somewhere. And then once you're done listening to it, I want you to pass it on to the next person.
Wow.
That's deep, and she should be working somewhere awesome, because like her mind goes that deep.
Yeah,
sure.
it looked like, from the first episode that I watched, it was really interesting. Just from the perspective of it kind of grabs you in and you want to know more. But it also, what I found was, it did a really good job of showing the other people that were involved in this situation. She had a guy the guy that liked her. It showed his, what happened to him, and it, the parents and the kids at school and everybody that was involved in that. It showed all that in that first episode. I'm like, they did a really good job of capturing human emotion. And
this is called 13 Reasons Why?
13 Reasons Why. It's on
Sorry,
Netflix.
I was reading your notes there.
Yeah.
Has everyone here lost somebody from suicide?
Yeah,
Well, the neighbor. Yeah. But yeah, I knew Travis.
We actually had a cousin who, I can't fathom thinking Brad. We'll just go with that. Brad was one of our cousins, and he was an all-star in high school. He was flamboyant, and he was in the theater, and he was the man of the women. But then,
That's a good man.
He was
Man of the women.
Man of the women. Well, super. He was a good guy. He had a great heart. He loved everyone he came across. He didn't have anything bad to say about anyone, and that was high school. And then he went off to college, and he went to college in New York, the toughest place to go to college. So you come from a rural town, Omaha, Nebraska, and you go out to New York. And he got culture shocked, and he was the lowest man on the totem pole. He lost his boyfriend, and things just didn't work out. He came back into town, and he was in his garage and put a hose in his muffler and ran it into his window and sat in his car and fell asleep. I can't. What is going through your mind when you're like, I'm actually going to set this all up and do this?
There's a book by There's a book by Jason Peter, the old Husker, the old Nebraska Cornhusker from back when Nebraska was good at football. He was one of the.
You're saying 97? Is that
I'm
what you're
from
saying?
Colorado, so it doesn't matter to me.
Do you remember when Nebraska used to win? Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Yeah, literally 20 years ago. No, Jason Peter was one of the All-Americans, one of the stars, and he was one of the best players on the team. And he went from 4 seasons at Nebraska football, mid-90s, never lost a frickin' game except for one weird one to Arizona in like 96. And then the national championship game in 96 to Florida State. I mean, they were the best football team like ever, right? That's as ranked by ESPN, different talk show. But yeah, he was one of the best players on one of the best football teams of all time. And then he got drafted by the Carolina Panthers in the first year that the Carolina Panthers existed, and they went like 0-13. And that guy swirled the drain. He wrote a book, and I think it's called like To Hell and Back or something like that, but he was on the verge. He was on the verge of suicide, and he was hooked on pain pills, and he got injured. And
they were nailing it, though.
Yeah, well,
2 seasons in.
Too late. No, he got injured. You know what? He got injured in that first year, and then so
get him on
the
mic when you want to talk, man.
So he went out there.
When you turn to him, I can't hear you.
He was the greatest player ever. He goes out there. They go 0-13. He busts a knee, right? Now he can't play, and he's on pain pills, and it just swirled the drain. The book is amazing, by the way. So you're welcome, Jason Peter. I just plugged you.
There you go.
Yeah. So you know,
should have had the book on here.
By the way,
just raising his spirits. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So everybody
He's doing
who's
great
listening,
now.
it's my force of habit to turn away from the mic to talk to the person I'm looking
When
at.
you look at you.
So if you lose me, I apologize.
That's all right.
Could you project in all directions? I mean, that would be very
But
helpful.
then it gets really loud when I turn and face the mic in my face. Like,
Yeah.
oh, crap.
That's all right. It's part of the show.
Yeah. I do want to bring up, here's a couple other groups that we had and some resources available. The AVA was one that was brought up by Mark, who was the founder of the Joint Task Force 22-0. That's all veterans advocates. And then One Tribe, One Fight. He said those are 2 very, very good resources for people on both sides to know what you're looking for. That is one thing I did want to bring up a while back, and I totally forgot to do that. We were talking about things to look for in people that, the red flags to look for.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Suicide prevention. That's really what we're talking about.
Can I,
Go ahead.
Preventing.
Sorry, it's on the same line, but it was a thought that I had when we were talking about the celebrities, right? Chester Bennington. I looked it up. It is Chester Bennington, by the way.
Nice job, though.
Robin Williams, and those other Chris Farley, the other, those celebrities, right, who are beloved by the whole country. They've got resources. They've got millions of dollars.
Andy Kaufman,
but they're struggling with some demons, right? And it just it made me think. It kind of blows your mind, somebody who's that much in the public spotlight, surrounded by people all the time.
Yeah,
but
you would think you'd be able to see,
but nonetheless, alone, exactly, you would think that you would see some signs, but those people didn't.
No. I kind of
jump in.
That creativity comes with such a price. I mean, think of Van Gogh.
Yeah.
I mean, these people who can create that level of entertainment and be that big of a character outside of what you would expect an average human being to be, that comes at a price. Like they pay horribly for that.
Well, and that's what Jim Carrey was just saying. Jim Carrey was saying, I have been playing a character my entire life, and I don't even know who I am.
Well,
that's what he said.
So
I'm like, wow.
I think anybody that's at that level, and I don't want to, it kind of sounds harsh to say it, but I mean, there's some truth. I think people that are like that, and that's where I was going with the Robin Williams story, was they just turn into a dancing monkey.
Yeah.
Like, here's my thing.
What do you want me to say?
Dance, monkey, dance. And I think that wears on people.
But the problem is that they've seen it happen to how many people before them. I'm a huge Elvis fan, and what a waste of space. You know what? At the end of it all, what a waste.
He's still alive. Don't.
Okay, thanks. Never mind then.
Been
I love
living
you,
in Vegas
Elvis.
for
Please
years.
keep doing what you do. But no, the thing is that they've all seen the signs. They've all heard of somebody else this tragic star and how they burn out. You see it. You should know better. Be smarter. And that's what I struggle with trying to imagine all these folks that, like Jim Carrey, where he's at. It's like, man, you've seen it. You know how this ends.
Oh, yeah.
Now's your moment.
Yeah, but then there's that, it's not going to happen to me because I'm at the top of my game.
If you have that friend that reaches out to you out of the blue, like you're like, wow, I really haven't heard from you in like 7 years, but they're reaching out to you, you might want to question that. You might want to go,
What's
maybe
up?
I should take this phone call and just see what's going on.
Could be nothing because there has
It could be
Yeah.
nothing. They may just be like, "Oh, I came across your phone number, and I want to talk."
But he said
But
he
there
cares.
also could, maybe they just want to hear a voice that they haven't heard in a while, and that's going to make them better.
Well, and
make them feel better.
that's we're kind of getting into the red flags here, and I did want to bring that up. Mark, the founder of Joint Task Force 22-0, what he said was,
It's like he's watching or something.
is he
We're
really
just talking about? No, I'm just saying, Mark.
What was his
Spelled-
name? Mark, Joint Task Force 22-0.
No, spelled the same way. MARC.
So, anyway, what he was saying was, like, in the military, what they're finding is there are no red flags anymore. Like,
It's not so simple.
no, or they're hiding it. Like, they just because now when it comes to the military is a completely different beast.
Cool.
If you
Ooh.
have
just
150
we
miles
just
per minute.
we just keep upping it.
When you're in the military, there are things that you have to worry about, such as your clearance. And if you have a high security clearance and you have mental health problems, it may just be, hey, I just need somebody to talk to. But if you have been labeled to have mental health problems, you lose that security
You
clearance.
lose your clearance, yeah.
So, I mean, there is a lot of pressure not to talk.
Yeah.
Career condemning.
Right.
Yeah. If
And
I-
th-
if I
And
admit-
there is a big thing going on security clearance wise. Donald Trump's son-in-law, something like that.
Yeah.
There's some
Okay.
stuff in the news right now. Kind of weird.
yeah.
Sorry, I just wanted to talk about security clearance there for 2 seconds.
All right.
It is career condemning, right? If I admit that I have an issue and I want help, I lose my job.
Yeah.
Right. And there was there's a really it's almost funny if you're in the military. Like I'm primary. Well,
Almost.
like if you viewed it as a civilian, you're like, oh my god, really that happens. But like if you're
They need
prior
help.
military, you're like, no, that's totally the way it is. And if you look up, if you do like a search for like suicide prevention on YouTube, there's a video that I found that was suicide prevention as told by a like an army or a soldier, or I can't remember the exact title, but it's along those lines. And what it is, they take a glimpse at, and it's all totally acted together. It's not like a hidden camera. That's like totally they put this together, and it is showing the training, the suicide prevention training in the military. And basically, Sergeant comes into the room and he's like, F this, F that. We got to do this effing thing. I'm going to put on a video before you leave this room. Sign this document. Blah blah blah.
What are you doing over here?
Well, I'm making a variation. We'll talk about it after this.
Are you doing simple syrups? I mean, I got some brand simple syrups.
He likes to interrupt a lot. That's all right.
Sorry.
Alzeri.
Yeah.
One simple syrup and other liqueurs?
Well, I was noticing empty bottles with no labels on them.
Well,
So
because it's easier to fit in my bag.
I just needed to
I
know.
have talked before about making your own simple syrups versus buying them. I will make fun of you if you actually buy them. You have to make your own simple syrups.
I happily am employed at some place that sells simple syrups.
There you go.
I do make my own because I am not paying for boiled sugar.
Yes. Here's mine is right here. So yep.
Sorry. Go
No,
ahead.
no,
Sorry.
that's all right. That's all right.
Just had to see what was going into the cocktail.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah, thank you.
So yeah, that kind of shows the mentality of like the not really the upper echelons, but just when you're the regular everyday enlisted soldiers, and like as Sergeant's leaving the room, one of the guys gives him a look like I kind of wanted to see this, and he's like, "What the f you looking at? You have an effing problem?" No. And then he's having a rough time, but like you don't want to speak. You don't want to be the one guy in the room that wants to speak out and like, no, I actually have a problem. So it was just you look at it like as a civilian, you're like, wow, that's really messed up. But as the military, like if you're prior military, you're like, no, that's the kind of thing that happens.
Yeah, if you speak out, then you're singled out.
So just another plug for my selfish opinion of greatness. So my oldest daughter is in the Air Force. She is air traffic control. So cheers because she's awesome.
That is a very stressful
Air traffic
job.
control.
Man,
There's a lot of.
But
if you've ever watched, what is it, Tin Cup?
Tin Cup.
Yeah, man.
But the thing is, she loves it.
The
But
burnout
the
on
thing
those
is,
are high.
Oh my
if-
gosh,
if-
this is like candy.
If she was to ever say she has a problem, even though she is killing it, got
Loses
her
her clear-
rating
yep.
fast,
Yep.
she is.
Knows every
Instructing-
aircraft in the sky.
If she was to complain about something, oh
You
man,
put you in quarantine.
we gotta pull her now
For sure.
and then maybe she'd make a really good cook in the kitchen. You know.
Yeah, well, and that's the problem.
Don't complain.
You know, in the military,
But
if
people should complain, you know, if they're actually having a bad time. But
Well-
society's putting it to a point where you
But
can't.
she's a girl in her early 20s. She could have a problem that has absolutely nothing to do with her career.
Yeah.
Could be.
Menstruation. We'll
well,
put it right there.
I mean,
My daughter's
prob-
perfect,
probably
so
not
obviously
that
that's
issue.
not it.
you know what I'm just saying. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying. It's a problem that doesn't even relate to
Correct.
what we're talking about.
But the thing is, like, if she was to, and this is the same little barrier that if you're in the military you're going to run into, because if you, who do you know you can trust about what you're going through? Because one, they're also going through
Nice.
something too. Mm-hmm. So like
Everybody's going through some crap. Yeah.
you know, and so then you end up. So on the military side, I get it, because everyone's stuck in the. What, you're going to go complain to a guy stuck in the same bunk above you?
yeah, he's going to be like, suck it up.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm going through the same thing.
Duh.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
this
our
is-
job.
It reminds me of Forrest Gump and the two guys sitting back to back in the rain. You know,
You
That's-
lean up
that's-
against me, I'm going to
yeah.
lean up against you.
that's how you're going to complain. You know, is to that guy, and hopefully that guy doesn't break it off to the lieutenant.
This dude
and-
was touching me and telling me he wanted to lean on me. I just, this sounds like, yeah.
Yeah,
Let's send him home.
yeah. It's a whole
This
different.
is nice.
Yeah.
This is real nice.
We're gonna take a little break for the announcement of our vendors here. What do we?
Yeah. You gotta talk it up now, because
Let's-
now we're all actually drinking, or at least most all of us are drinking.
I'll get there. Okay.
It is-
There's a,
I'm dainty.
see the bucket behind. See the bucket behind him.
but they're too
Mike,
good
you're
to
worried
dump out.
about your CrossFit.
No, I'm not throwing this out.
You're worried about the
Yeah.
CrossFit diet. That's
But this
Not hardly.
this almost I feel like you just put oranges inside of this
I did.
thing,
And I didn't.
and you didn't put any oranges in there, and I feel it's like orange
very
juice.
citrusy.
It's got a lot of citrus and a lot of
Got
sugar
some
to
fruit.
it. It's got a lot of fruit.
Okay, so I have a
But
question for you
we
because
are working with 151 proof now.
oh boy,
Light
So-
that shit on fire.
On-
Sorry about
All right,
that.
yep.
Sometimes we gotta just do that.
we got to pause for the to cut that out of the
Yeah.
podcast.
Oh, okay. Luckily enough, because I'm like,
What is going?
What the
Yeah,
heck is
how's
he
there- so yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, every once in a while we slip up, and
Yep.
we got to cut it out of the podcast. So for the viewing members at home,
Mike
no,
Punch.
yeah, Mike Punch.
Mike Punch.
I just want to make sure everybody's
Mike
awake.
Punch.
Yep. So yeah, we just have to pause and
That's
cut
right.
that up.
So explain to us what we are
Yeah,
sipping,
what is-
sipping on the scissor now.
so still a variation of the same theme. Still making. What was the name of the cocktail again? What was
Devron.
the Devron?
The Devron.
But we are upping the proof. We are doing a Guyana 151 proof. If anyone's ever had Bacardi 151,
Oh yeah,
they do not make it anymore, and that is just gasoline.
Yeah.
However, overproof rum can be
now
delicious.
the 151 isn't that what they use? What's the shot where they light
Caribou, the
the-
Flaming Dr. Peppers. There's tons.
yeah
The
so
volcano.
Isn't that what is that what they use? The 151.
151, yeah, because
So-
it burns high.
But they don't make 151 anymore. And I thought it was just because Bacardi decided not to, but they only made it for the Americas, for the record. 'Cause-
So it's now 131.
It's a
well,
throw.
they don't make it at all because they were the only only overproof rum that had the flame cap, that one that stopped it from being able to burn inside the bottle.
Okay.
So when somebody spilled it, took the cap off, spilled it on himself, because of a lawsuit,
Yeah, they got liability there. Yeah,
because
sure.
they knew it was dangerous by
Yeah.
putting a cap. So even though this 151 proof, it's just a regular lid,
Yeah.
well, we don't know that you're an idiot. It's going to light it on fire. Like,
Yep.
spill it on your hands and light it. Illegal light drinks on fire in Omaha.
Just FYI. Yep.
Good to know.
Unless you're making a dessert.
I'll stop
Bananas
doing that.
Fosters.
Bananas Fosters, yeah.
So our heaviest drink yet.
This is
Well, and
heaviest
it's the
drink yet, but the
sweetest.
lightest.
Yeah, it's very
Easiest.
sweet, very light.
It's about balance. So I
Yeah.
gave up trying to invent drinks a long time ago because the more I studied, the more I realized.
The people need to know what you just did here, though.
So we took the.
explain that to them.
All right. So back to the beginning. We took a 151 Guyana
Same drink,
overproof rum.
Same
Different
drink,
principle,
yeah, just
same
to-
principle.
Yeah.
Now with 151 proof rum, you're not going to have enough water in there to activate the sweetener. So we will put a little bit of simple syrup in there to wake up that sweet note because it is rum. I went back to the Fee Brothers chocolate bitters
Yeah,
because it's
I
got a
taste the chocolate a little
more
bit.
rich chocolate flavor profile. I did add a splash of pomegranate liqueur that really brightens up the
Never had
whole
pomegranate
thing.
liqueur.
No citrus added to this, but we do have lime remnants in our glass.
We've
'cause
talked
they're not
about pomegranate on this talk.
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
pomegranate. I make, sadly, one of the most incredible
Sadly?
amaretto
No.
sour. Well,
Greatly.
it's,
Not sadly.
It's amaretto sour. So dress it up any way you want.
Hey,
Brian
I
makes
make
his
my
own
own
amaretto.
amaretto.
Okay, so dress it up any way you want. It's an amaretto sour. How many people have had that amaretto sour I'm new to drinking experience? But I make a killer amaretto sour, and I use a splash of pomegranate.
You also make a killer Bloody Mary.
I'm turns out I'm very no swear word good at this.
Thank you.
I do have a question because we've been talking a lot about the bitters, and we've had bitters on the program before, and I've talked a little bit about them, but why are they just called bitters? Because that's something that
So I'm going to grab the bottle of Angostura and try to speak
for
in
it.
the mic
Yeah,
at the same time.
Yep.
So, back in 1824, Angostura invented bitters. It was entirely intended for medicinal purposes.
Hang on, who is this guy? It's back in 1824. Do you teach?
It's our professional bartender.
Do I get
paid
college
to
credit
do
for
this.
this?
He does teach
Yes.
classes.
I teach classes. I do tastings. Like,
I love it.
I'm
It's
really
outstanding.
good. I'm really good at this. But anyways, Angostura also makes killer rum. Just so we're clear on that.
Yeah, they do.
Out of Trinidad, but they
And they make good cigars, too. Trinidad's.
yes, they do.
Yes, they do.
If I smoke cigars, but don't smoke kids.
You know,
yes.
that's why I don't work at Cigarros anymore.
But anyway, so bitters originally started as an intent to settle the stomach. So for anyone who may have
Yeah.
enjoyed a night
You
and
came here to
started
learn
the
something.
next day a little rough,
Mhm.
bitters and water, even better, bitters and soda water, and Angostura bitters actually does a great deal for settling the stomach.
Oh, so you don't even need like Alka-Seltzer
No.
or
Toothpaste.
Advil or toothpaste. Toothpaste?
You've never done that?
No.
To settle the stomach?
Never.
It's the
I
mint.
just
it's
go
the
with
mint.
not having
It's
a
the
hangover.
fluoride, Brian.
Yeah,
That doesn't settle your stomach. That causes all sorts of problems.
Exactly.
Just to be
So
clear, I'm
don't
a
do that ever again,
professional
Brian.
drinker. I just don't get hungover. That's what I find is the best thing to do. But
Hydrate. That's
Yeah.
how you don't get hungover.
but bitters, it is a concentrated
Bitters in
flavor.
soda.
Bitters and soda will
Perfect.
settle the stomach. Matter of fact, even
Any particular soda or like a
soda water,
Oh, okay.
soda water, ginger ale works really well. I mean, you just even if you don't feel well, you have an upset stomach. So this is getting really nerdy on booze, but give me a second.
That's
all
what
right.
we're all
There's
about.
an entire
part of the
line
show.
of spirits called
why we call Drink Talk.
Amaros.
Called what?
Amaro.
Amaros?
Amaro. Well, if it's plural, it's called Amari, but that's Italian.
Amari?
Yeah. Amaro is the Italian word for bitter. There is an entire section of liqueurs for this. And what you would do is after a big, heavy Italian meal, you'd sip on these bitter elements, and it settles the stomach.
In water?
Nice.
Well,
Or just
those are
like straight?
Those are liqueurs.
Like
This-
seriously, they do it straight?
Oh, yeah.
Man.
Angostura now makes a straight one. It's
So-
wicked awesome.
Tomorrow when I wake up, I'm going to pour some of that with some soda water.
And those are like 46%? Or are they proof? 46
Most-
proof? Or percent?
Most bitters are made from alcohol. Fee Brothers is made from glycerin.
So 20%, though. So-
No. It
Like
is
46%.
44.7% alcohol.
Yeah, that's
a
what I was
little
thinking.
more than
46.
twice as much as I thought.
So just because you put bitters in your tonic water or just in your average drink does not mean you have a drinking problem. Just remember, vanilla extract is alcohol based as well.
Well, and
Absolutely.
we're not talking
That's
like
why I put it in my cookies.
you're not talking a shot of
No,
bitters.
it's dash.
It's drops, right?
Yeah.
But this is the guy
Yeah,
that
we're not
started
drinking
it.
it.
Oh, I know a guy who shoots it, and it's like, dude, that's expensive
Really?
and a waste of time.
Oh, yeah. That was a $20 bottle.
That's why they don't make them in fifths, right?
Yeah. Well, but Angostura now makes a full bottle that's a drinkable. Oh, my God, it's so good.
Well, yeah, but you don't have to add water to it, though,
I-
right?
well,
Is it still 46% or 47%?
Probably would want
it's,
to.
It's close.
Wow.
I stretch it with sparkling wine, but because I'm fancy.
It's fancy.
You do it with your
Fancy.
finger up like that?
Well, you know. Well, no, because I'm holding two glasses. I mean, come on. We went off topic. with
No,
the
that's-
sarcasm,
you totally-
But are we good with bitters?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
we're
no,
good with
I
bitters.
think the general public
Yeah.
now knows.
I used to
about
make
that,
my own
bitters.
bitters, and then I realized it takes too much time and effort to.
Just go buy it.
And then, yeah.
One quick side note on that. So you have bitters, right?
Yes.
Is the chocolate bitters and all that? Is that like a recent invention, or has that been around for a little while?
It's been around for quite a while, actually. Bitter Truth is.
It's just different flavors.
Just
You know,
different flavors.
Mine's
Right.
citrus.
Yeah.
That one's chocolate. You know.
Can I get nerdy again about the
Please
Angostura?
do. Please
Sorry.
do.
Drink talk.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
what this is about.
So, everyone, people on the camera, See the
We got to
size
lighten the
of-
mood somehow on
Okay.
this talk.
Yeah,
Really.
right.
So I mean, it's a
Indeed.
tough talk.
So 1824. You see that wrapper?
We're,
How
we're
it
taking
does
our
not
1 hour
fit the
break right
bottle?
now. Is what we're doing. You know.
Yeah, I always wondered why that doesn't fit the bottle.
It was a mistake. However,
It just caught on?
In 1824, you just printed off all these labels that are too big for the bottle.
Nice catch. Nice catch there.
For the bottle, and then what do? Well, let's
Nothing.
use the labels
deal
until
with it.
until we get new ones.
Yeah.
But by the time that
Everybody
You
knew
get
it
new
was
ones.
that.
It's a different bottle.
it was so iconic, let's fast forward to Fee Brothers and a more recent. Look at that label,
Wrap it around the neck there.
That's funny.
and so now it's
so
it's
that'll
become
What am
a
I
thing.
thinking of? The not au jus sauce, but Worcestershire sauce.
yeah.
This
Worcestershire.
reminds her of Worcestershire sauce.
The wrapping.
Fair.
The wrapping.
Yeah, fair.
You know what I mean?
This stuff is awesome, by the
Yeah.
way.
It is.
That-
Well,
I-
you made me buy it.
I am actually very impressed. I'm impressed by your knowledge, but I am very impressed that you knew the label. Like that is,
Story.
I have
that's
to
crazy that you knew the story
so
behind the
much.
label.
That's what Drink Talk's all about right there.
While drinking,
Yes,
I,
and I'm
uh,
all about the story. So
So I have bitters at home, but I never know what to do with them. Listen, I'm a layman drinker, okay?
Fair enough.
So
Now you're learning
Good-
something.
This is a good drink.
so I got to figure out.
Very good drink.
I got to find the right.
Well,
right use
I
case.
think Mike's ready for a new one,
You ready
right?
for one? We're going to skip drink 3 for you and go straight to this one.
Yeah, I'm okay.
make
with
sure
that.
you drink water, Mike.
So I do have to talk. One of my favorite little problems I have in the world I live in today is chefs who think they're bartenders.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, so
you
I
can
was-
cook with alcohol, but just because you can cook with it doesn't mean
I was doing an interesting event in a parking lot one night, and I was
That's the start of a good story right there.
Yeah.
Why don't you pour the ice and we'll talk a little bit about a parking lot.
Okay.
You
So anyway, there was a priest and a rabbi, and you were in a parking lot.
it started all started in a parking lot.
I was serving drinks in a parking lot, which was legal
Yeah.
because it was
They
private
took out a
property.
liquor license and put barricades.
yes.
Private
Yeah, let's just say they
property.
did.
As far
the
as you
barricades.
knew,
We did
there was-
everything. Yeah, I was just there.
It
to
was
serve
just
the drinks.
cause.
But the chef I was working with on that evening
It's private land. There you
kept touching my space.
Drinks.
Dingus? Dingus? No, don't say that.
Touching my cocktails, and it was bugging me immensely. So
Yeah.
when he served his first course, butternut squash soup with creme fraiche and whatever, I then ran to every person sitting at the table, and I put 3 dashes of Angostura bitters in there. Oh my God, it was awesome. But my interest was purely spite because he kept touching my drinks, so I touched his food.
What was he doing to your drinks? Like that makes me really curious.
He'd come in, pinch of salt. Oh, I'd be pouring a drink. He'd smack
Like,
the end of
this
my
is
bottle.
not food. This is liquor. It's
like-
not food.
Well, it's a fact that they can't tell the difference. Well, not all of them. So please, chefs of the world, I'm not actually singling you out.
There are good chefs out there
Correct.
that
It's the ones that think that when I give them a recipe that calls for rye, that means you can use something that just has whiskey on the bottle.
no.
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 No. I said rye for a reason.
Yeah.
But we're talking rum and the like tonight. Rum and bitters. Because
You've got a red one and you got a white one. What's the red one? What's the white one?
So, because I have a traveling bag of
Yeah.
cocktails that I keep with me at
Yeah,
all
well,
times.
and I asked you via text message. I was like, "Hey, what are you bringing for mixers?" And
Yeah.
you're like, "Well,
Kind of got
a
a thing.
plethora of things." Like,
and he said it's hard to explain.
It's hard to explain. People can't see on the camera here, but he brought like 9 bottles, maybe 12 bottles of stuff to.
I kind of want to show. Like,
No,
this on camera.
it's fine.
Trust me.
Just
I brought
trust me.
stuff.
Yeah, there's lots of bottles of liquors over here that don't have any names on them, but he knows exactly what they are.
And so
that's
they're all
fine.
color coded by the lid and the neck.
Perfect.
Well
And-
done.
And but you know what they are.
Is
I
that,
know
is
what
that
I
a
have no
trick of
idea.
the trade?
Yeah, I would
Actually,
I
I
would
don't know.
I would think slow down, stop, go ahead. You
Well-
know? That's the way I would look at those bottles.
When I was doing this more independently and like I do private, like for years I did only events and private parties.
Yeah.
And
Well, thank you for coming to our private event.
because this is fun.
Yeah,
Nobody had a system that worked for me, so I had to make my own system, and which
absolutely.
You-
Do what works for you.
That's what you do, man.
because I do not come with a traveling liquor license, I'd have to work for somebody, so I couldn't pick the base spirits on most parties.
All right.
So what I can do is I bring a cocktail bag that has certain things that just enhance the
Make it
experience.
just a little better.
And my favorite thing is say I'm doing just a plain old wedding that has a well bar, and some gal comes up, can I get a Malibu and Co?
Girl, you could have so much better than that.
Let me make you something.
But if that's what they're looking for, I keep a little bit of coconut rum in my bag at all time. Just a splash of that will get me there, and it keeps them happy.
Get her there.
for them, because I'm working.
Okay,
I'm working. I'm working for the customer.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. You're doing your job right.
I mentioned that I'm like a layperson drinker, but I enjoy all the different types of drinks as much as anybody.
Now you actually get to cheers with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
An official cheers.
Yeah. Game on.
This is a lot smoother than all the rest of them,
which is amazing.
Yeah, right.
That is like candy.
It's like candy. That's what I said earlier.
So good.
This is my favorite, by the way.
But, I enjoyed rum just like normal fat kids love rum, right? I had Bacardi and Coke or whatever you want to do.
What are you saying?
Bacardi and Cola.
But I toured the Cruisin' Rum Factory in St. Croix, which was super interesting. And then I learned that Cruisin' Rum is kind of garbage rum.
No,
but whatever.
Cruzan makes a lot of garbage flavors. Cruzan by themselves, like their base spirit is a good rum.
So we picked up a few bottles when we went on the tour. Right, okay. Oh, yeah, so fine. The mango rum is weird to say the least. However, they have like a really nice bottle of single barrel estate rum.
That is gorgeous.
And so that's what I have at home. And they also have this, they call it Black Strap.
Black Strap.
Oh my gosh. Get out of town, right? It's this rum cream. It's kind of a...
You can't get the rum cream anymore. Did it? When were you in Cruzan?
That was in
St. Croix.
It was a long time ago, 10 years ago.
Yeah, like they don't ship the. Well, as far as I knew,
no, we got it there.
Okay.
Brought it home.
It's like, man, you can't get the rum cream anymore.
Hey, we had the rum. So that was on my honeymoon, and no, it wasn't on my honeymoon. It was a different.
I was gonna say your honeymoon, you went and saw some depleted stuff.
Yeah, we were
going on in the ocean.
That was the wrong island. Anyway, it was not my honeymoon, but nonetheless. We got a bottle of rum cream, and I was like, this is the best stuff ever. Yeah. I want it. We drank it before we left the island. So
and then you get here and you can't get it.
Yeah, and then I got home, and I was like, oh, doesn't exist. That's a bummer.
Yep.
There is rum.
Don't kill yourself over that.
Let me rephrase that. There's horchata flavored rum out there.
It'll come around again.
Cream.
It'll come around again.
But yeah.
I would like to get a point in my life where I get to find something like that and be like, I'm just going to buy a case and send it home.
Yeah, right. I wish I would have, but I was like, hey, this is a tasty bottle. Let's drink it. Mm-hmm. And 3 days later, fly home.
No, yep. Done.
And that was the only time I'm ever going to do that.
So let's get back to the talk, boys.
I know, we have taken a far tangent.
And that's okay.
You know what? It was a well-deserved tangent.
It was a well-deserved tangent. And now people are educated on liqueurs and bitters and all of
I'm better skilled at the booze talk.
And that's fine.
Just
it's fine. That's why we brought you on the show. And we had to have a lighter side to this story.
We did.
And I'm glad that you came on.
And overproof rum.
Yeah, exactly.
How do we solve this? Is that where we're going?
Yeah, we'll go down that venture since we're an hour and a half in already, boys.
We got another like 10 minutes, and then we'll be in an hour.
This 1 hour podcast really goes.
It's an hour. We're almost an hour and
90 minutes every time.
Yeah,
every time I've ever been on it.
Sometimes 3 hours.
Well, my favorite was
Secrets of Surveillance.
Yeah, the switch to the digital age when we did a 2-parter and we continued the second parter. By the end of that second parter, it was like, whoa. Anyway, prevention. It's really about just knowing what you are.
There's a hum.
I've got a major hum.
Yeah, it's the air conditioner just kicked on. The heating kicked on.
Tried shutting the door.
Kind of warm it up a little.
What is happening? Are we taking off?
Sorry, the AC, the heater kicked on. Yeah. Anyway, it's just noticing what is going on in people's lives. If you've got that friend out there that really, you ask them to do things and they're like, no, I'm okay. I'm just gonna, and you've got people that just are very quick with things. They very one-worded, quick to get you off the phone. Because frankly, they can't talk themselves because they're dealing with issues in their heads. Reach out to them and do something with them. I'm in a spot in my life where I got a wife and a kid and all that stuff. So if I say, honey, I got to go, meet this friend and take care of this person for a little while, do that. I mean, I guess I wouldn't suggest take them out to the bar, but that's probably where they're going to be. So, meet them up. Meet them up and
Depends on the situation.
Make them smile.
Sure.
Make them laugh. Engaging conversation really takes stress off of one's life.
I'll tell you, I had a friend one time. I got myself into a bad situation. Not the worst situation I've ever been in my life. Certainly not like life-changing. I'll just tell you and God and everybody on the podcast because it's really not that bad. I got a DUI when I was 21 years old, right? Shameful.
I had my DUI when I was 22. So
yeah, shameful, humiliating, like
14 years ago.
I mean, going to jail for an evening puts you in a pretty bad place, right?
Perspective.
And I was in perspective, right? And hey, let's not make bad choices nowadays.
Yeah.
So that was a long time ago.
But you were depressed.
But it just hits you hard, right? And so I called up one of my.
I shouldn't be here in this drunk tank.
Oh yeah,
I'm
right?
not with these people.
The day after, right? The day after, like
there's some guy pooping in the corner and everybody's cussing at him because he's pooping.
So it's probably something that a legitimately depressed person wouldn't do. Is the next morning I called all my friends and my brothers and and I was like, hey, listen. This happened last night. Yeah, because I want you all.
No,
to
you
know.
weren't. Yeah, you were depressed.
And
I was trying
okay.
to get. You were trying to get out of there.
I don't know that most people would do that.
But no,
they'd be
probably
like,
not.
I wouldn't.
No.
Yeah.
Probably not.
I'd make one phone call and be like, "Get me out of here now."
Close friends, right?
Before you read it in the newspaper.
Mom, Dad, actually.
Right, yeah, kind of. Pretty much, kind of like before you hear it from someone else. Yeah. But no, I had one friend who said something to me, and it made me laugh, and it just changed everything. I said, dude, I called him and I said, hey man, I went to. I
almost said it.
No, I said, hey man, listen, I went to jail last night, like for the first time in my life ever, and I feel really bad right now, and it sucked, and I can't believe I never thought that I'd be the guy that was ever in jail, and I sat in jail for like an evening.
Completely messed up.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, and he goes, you know what his response was? He goes, well, hey, now if you ever want to sing country music, you can. I was like, boom! Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for putting a light spin on it, and like making it okay, right? Because like country singers go to jail sometimes. And it's like, this is a normal thing. And it's not the end of the world.
Don't stress it. Don't stress it out.
You're going to get through it and it's going to be fine. Like just this one brief little comment that made me smile a little bit. I was like, yeah, this is probably going to be okay, right? It's probably fine. Yeah. Changed everything.
Wow. That's like a spin on the perspective.
Yeah, right.
Which is pretty cool.
I was like, oh man, yeah, great guy, that one.
Dig it.
I'll keep that kid around.
I don't talk to him anymore, but like, then he got weird on me. I don't know.
If you suffer from this, and let these words hear you. Let us as a podcast hear you out. If you are suffering with this sort of thing, please reach out. There are many venues, many ways, many friends, many family that really want to get in touch with you and want to know what's going on with your life. Don't hide under a rock and not get the word out there. Please
don't go at it alone.
Don't go at it alone. Everyone has a friend, and sometimes you haven't reached out to them in a while, and reach out to them. And if they strike you down and say, I don't even really want to talk to that friend anymore, there's always another person that is willing to talk to you. So don't strike out with one person. Reach out. Go see someone. Go talk to somebody. The worst case scenario, go to a Starbucks and get a drink. Somebody will be there to talk to you.
I've said to people before, and I don't know if this is right. I'm not trained in this, right?
No, I'm not a professional.
But one thing that I've said to people sometimes is, and I'm thinking particularly of like the teenagers who think they're in a situation they don't have a way out, right? The teenage girl who's knocked up.
My life has ended because of you took my phone away from me.
Well, no, serious stuff. Like a teenage girl who's knocked up well underage, or a kid who.
But if you are knocked up, that's the worst time to take your life. Don't do that.
Took a picture of him, took a picture of themselves, and they just feel like there's nothing that they can do, and this is what I would say.
There is help out there,
particularly on the point of telling your parents. Right? It depends on who you are and who your parents are, but the number one thing going through your head is I can't tell my parents. And I would recommend to you that you do.
Yes, you can.
Absolutely.
Yes, you can. You can.
Your
tell
parents are the ones that care the most.
And the thing that I would say to you is imagine the worst case scenario. right? Run through the scenario in your head, and where you're telling your parents, explaining exactly what happened, and imagine worst case scenario. What are they going to do? Hit you, right? If you got bad parents and they hit you, that's going to hurt, and then they'll know, and you'll have a slap mark on your face, and you've got bad parents for hitting you, but you'll get through it, right?
But they care. They're the ones that care.
Imagine the worst case scenario, right? The worst case, and then think of the most likely case, right? And say, how's this probably going to go? And then walk yourself through it and come up with a plan and go tell your parents, because they will help you.
And I would say on the flip side of that, parents, on the parent side of that, open those lines of communication to your child, because you want them to know if your child comes to you with something and you freak out, they're probably not going to want to come to you.
No.
Yeah, so parents, remember, you were a kid once.
Take it with a grain of salt.
We were all kids once.
Right. Open that line of communication. Don't freak out. I mean, and don't also on the same token, don't belittle what they say, because I
know you can't see me, but I hear you better that way.
Okay, fair.
Yeah. So as a parent, don't belittle what they say. Like, if they come to you with a situation that seems life-ending or life-altering, and you're like, that's nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, that belittles. For them, that is the biggest thing that's happened in their life.
Right, and to a 14-year-old kid, breaking up with his girlfriend that he had for 3 weeks is a life-changing event.
Devastating.
Right? I mean,
by the way, you were 14 once.
Right.
You were 14 once.
Yeah.
I think. Let me think back. Yes,
I
I
believe
was.
so.
you have to realize that to that kid, it is that big of a deal, right? And so in their head, it matters that much. So you have to treat it with that much respect.
The only reason why, as adults, we don't find it that important is because we've lived past
Been there
that.
and survived it. Yeah.
But we went through all this. Like, they will go through, because it's one thing that always kills me.
Well, we were also in a different era where kids spank their children, or parents spank their children.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry.
Pre-Facebook.
And
I spanked my child,
and not everything was
he
instantly
gets
recorded.
together real quick.
Yeah.
Well, and
We are actually
social media is a nightmare for kids these days.
yeah,
you know?
we're growing up.
They think it's the greatest thing ever, but it's a nightmare for you. You know,
There was something that
I
was
could make a mistake and it could stay within a small group.
right. Yeah. So
And it was an inside joke.
and a trusted.
Well, you create a vine, and then it's just funny. It's like
well, and we're actually the people that are turning 16, 17, 18 years old right now. They're the generation that their entire life has been documented on the internet with social media.
Born in 2001, by the way, that crew that you just mentioned.
guys know John R.
Yeah, that's not.
He's on
not
board
long
right
ago.
now. Says
Hey, what's up, John?
Yeah, he's saying thanks for talking about this.
Oh, John Kavanaugh.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
Hello.
he's- yeah, hello.
Ryan.
Welcome.
Hi, John.
Should we count to 5?
Oh well, I mean,
We're
yes,
down to 5
we
for it
can.
today.
You think? I'm just asking.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah,
Well,
he didn't say no. So
Okay.
you sign. We'll have him sign the
We'll
document.
try to maintain anonymity.
Yeah, we
Well,
do. We do.
he's the one commenting, so
Fair
everybody
enough.
can find it.
Okay.
Yeah,
We love you, John. We love
yes, you. Yes, thank you for joining us. So I do want to mention a few. I do want to kind of end the talk, and I want to put this on our website also, because we're throwing out a lot of information. We're throwing out a lot of websites. We should put this. We should post
Phone
this
number
on
again?
you. Phone number again is 1-800-448-3000.
And where can we find that, Mike?
On
Your
any
life,
box of-
yourlifeyourvoice.org, or just Google.
Or
Or go get a pizza from.
Sorry,
You mean that
On
empty
a
box of
Godfather-
pizza you brought us?
the box that I just looked at to read the number. That one,
Yes.
Godfather's Pizza Box. And I just want to say, I'm not paid for this, and I'm, whatever. But I would like to give a special thanks to Godfather's Pizza for sponsoring the Boys Town National Suicide Hotline.
Well,
crisis
and
hotline.
with
and
that
giving us
said,
a box of pizza.
if
Or
you-
empty
an empty box of pizza.
if you type in Google suicide,
Yeah.
it will ultimately come up with prevention, and it will ultimately come up with the number.
You know that Google will actually respond to other questions. If you type into Google how to tie a noose, it will direct you to the suicide prevention line.
Perfect.
You know, something
I
I was.
suicide cocktail just to verify my ratios, and I had
Do you need help? Do you need help?
Yeah.
4 spots
Yep.
before I got to the
Sponsored
recipe
ads,
saying,
Yep.
Are you doing okay?
Thanks Google.
I feel
That's-
sad sometimes.
That's worth doing. I
Yeah.
think Facebook does similar stuff though.
I
Based on
do kind of wonder
the
after
things you
doing
put in there.
After doing all this research, I was like, how many hit lists am I on for Google? Like, this dude needs to be looked at. He needs some help.
Well, But you're on this show, connected
Yeah.
to this show, so
Right.
it all ties into each other.
And then say, oh, no, he's talking about booze. He's going to be fine.
Yeah, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Yep. So I do want to mention a few other ones here, and we're going to post these on our page as well. On if you look up Drink Talk on Facebook, we'll post them on our page because I know we're throwing a lot of information out there. So we want a place where you can go and actually revisit that and look at it. So Lifeline is a place that you can call and talk to people. 1-800-273-TALK or 1-800-273-8255. Boys Town National Hotline. That's not the one that you mentioned.
No, it's
before?
that's the same exact number he just
Same
said.
number. Okay,
Yeah.
just making sure.
448
Which we'll
3000.
repeat it again. 1-800-448-3000.
3,000.
Or go to yourlifeyourvoice.org.
Yes, that is more for kids, and that's where you can also text back and forth with the
Right.
people. So you can visit that. If you do a search, or if you just want to type it into your address bar, you can go to sprc.org. That is Suicide Prevention Resource Center. Or you can go to AFSP.org, American Foundation for Suicide Prevention.org. Both those actually have a lot of information on people that want to help people.
Ladies and gentlemen, you know, this is a fun show. We talk a lot, and it's actually kind of a joking show, but this is not a joking matter. So
No, it's not. It's not.
please reach out if you are in trouble. If you are in need, please reach out. That's
or
what
for
we're saying.
people that want to help people. I hope that there's people watching this program that know people like, man, I got this friend and he's down on his luck. I have no idea what to do. I want to talk to him, but I have no idea what to say. Just go hang out with him.
Yep.
Like, just spend that time with him. Just let him know that you care. Let him know that you are in his life.
Throw a baseball around.
Or
Throw a
her
frisbee
life.
around. You know, go fishing. Do something. You know, do
Bowling.
something.
I would recommend bowling.
Absolutely, bowling's even better.
I haven't been bowling
Like
in a while.
Borderlands. You know, like,
Oh, yeah, Borderlands.
Play a video game. Sure,
Yeah.
why
Yeah.
not? Do it.
Play a record that they may love.
Nice.
You know, I would also say
I'm not old
for
enough to
people
know what
that
a
are
record is.
for anyone that is in a bad place or having that unfortunate situation. Yeah, there's all these resources that are out there, but you could walk up to most people, right? Most people are good,
Yes.
and just say the words, "I need help.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel right. I don't feel good."
And even if they don't know what to do, they're going to try and
I would bet
find
you
a...
that I would bet you that most random strangers, much less people that you know, and people that you know would probably be a better resource to go to. But pretty much anyone's going to go.
But I think...
Can we help?
Time
What
to
do you
help.
need?
If you're in that mindset of the person that is wanting to end it,
Don't
you
try
can-
that in New York, though. I mean,
You
come
apparently
to Omaha to try that.
I don't know.
Fair enough.
People in New York they're actually very friendly. Just FYI.
They are. They are. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Some are in a hurry.
Yeah, I don't know where you're going with that. I mean, I find people in New York very friendly.
Depends on where you're at.
I have a different experience in New York.
don't go down to 10th Street. I mean,
The people under the bridge that were offering me Coke, they're very friendly. Very. This guy's doing crack in here.
wow.
Entrepreneurial, even.
Wow.
Anyway,
Hypothetically.
Hypothetically,
that
yes.
that was a quote from a.
It's a hell of a drug.
Stand-up. Yeah. I would say that the people that are wanting to do themselves harm, they feel that they can't turn to anybody. So the people that are closest to them, they don't want to reach out to because they feel embarrassed by it, or they don't think that they
Don't feel embarrassed.
Yeah, no.
Everyone's had a dark moment.
Yeah.
Everyone has.
I've told a bad story to a friend, one that I didn't want to say. And they were like, I've been in the same boat. And you're like,
You might
like
think
just
of it,
off my shoulders. It was just like, oh,
you might think of
you've
that.
been there too?
You might think of that as an opportunity to have a defining moment in your life, right? It's kind of that diverging path, right? This is where I'm at, and I've got choices here.
Mm-hmm.
No matter where you're at, you've got choices. You can go down one path, or you can go down a different path, and the other path is, going and swallowing your pride and admitting you did something wrong, and taking your medicine, which is going to hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But that can be a defining moment in your life where everything turns around, and it's gonna suck for a few hours,
Right.
But
Or
it
days,
but it
or
might
what-
change everything,
Yeah.
and it might be worth it. So
The
give it a
sun will
shot.
come out.
So instead of ending that, just take that as an opportunity to change the direction, change everything.
How about this? Just the fact that you open yourself up to somebody you truly trust and care about in that little bit, what are they going to do in return? Like when you put yourself out there for someone, like you're talking about your own hurt, they're going to say, oh my gosh, I can trust this person because he trusted me, so I can trust them. And believe it or not, reaching out to someone for your own needs really does help people around you because it gives them one more connection, one more reason to feel involved.
Well, and you may not know that person that you're reaching out to may have gone through something very similar,
but then
too
scared to say.
Exactly, and they're like Britt had said before, like, oh my God, I have been
about
through that
it,
exact
not
same
No,
situation.
yeah, no. But I was just in the restroom and I just thought of something. We have a comment bar.
That's what happens.
Yeah, we have a comment bar on Facebook right now. Please comment in there. We would love to have you on the show.
Yeah.
We are people that care, and we are people that love to have other people on the show and talk things out. So if you are definitely in a bad situation, comment, and we will have you on the show. On YouTube, we're there too as well. Please put in the comment, say, hey, I'd like to meet you guys. We would love to have you on the show.
Well,
I don't care that you're depressed. Well, we do care that you're depressed. Yes. Let me restate
in the
that.
other way, we're okay.
We're okay with whoever
Sorry.
wants to come onto this
Yes.
show. That's really ultimately what I was going at. Please say something. Reach out, even to total strangers.
Well, and
We would
here's,
love to hear your stories.
I want to put this out there, and I know this is off the cuff, and I didn't even talk to Britt about this. But if you reach out and you want to say, hey, Britt, Brian, Drink Talk, I want to come on your program. I want to talk. We can even do a show that we don't put out live.
No,
we can
you could just come here and do this. My next door neighbors actually came over one night on a Tuesday night, and we just sat here and chatted, and they were like, this is so awesome. We want to be on a show. I'm like, we'll get you
The
there.
only reason I'm willing to be here is I just pretend like they're not broadcast. And
One's a doctor and one's a cop, so I'm like,
this is real. The world can hear this.
By the way,
yeah, this is live.
yeah, this is like so. Yeah, if you want,
I'm just saying,
yeah.
another way to reach out. I'm glad I just thought of
Right,
that.
yeah.
You know,
you can come on this program and we can actually sit and have a round table discussion, record it, and if you want to put it out there, that's fine.
Yeah.
If not,
we can give it right to you, and you
that's
can play
for
it
you.
over and over for
That's for
yourself.
you.
Put it on thumb drive.
Yeah.
You should tell them to make sure I'm here because the booze is better when I'm here.
it really
Agreed.
is.
Agreed.
It really
By
is.
the way,
That's a
nice
fact.
job on the drinks.
Yes,
That is a
yeah.
fact.
They just got better and better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they really did.
It's like a fine wine. It
There's
matured
a
with
science
time.
to this, by the way.
That last one, it tasted like
Candy.
some kind of candy bar that I've had before, but I can't name it. Like some rando European Heath bar that I can't remember the name of.
Julia Gulia, working at the Hive, I wanted a orange Red Bull. That's what I wanted. I was like, give me an orange Red Bull. And she's like, hey. And she grabs the Susan Butterworth,
Yeah.
I can't. It's a cream de liqueur is what it is. It's like 20% alcohol. It's like nothing alcohol, but it's this Susan Butterworth thing that you would think you'd put on pancakes. And she grabs that and she's like, doot, doot, and she pours it. She hands it to me. It tastes like Tootsie Roll. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to order just a
will
Red
say-
Bull ever in my entire life.
Okay, since we're going off the rails here, I do want to talk to the master bartender about like some of those crazy drinks that like 21st birthday parties order, like a birthday cake
No
and a root
good
beer
comes
float.
from it.
No, nothing good comes from it. But I just want to say that
putting out
sometimes
good
it's
things.
amazing.
So
Sometimes
Thanks, John.
it's
Thanks, John,
shocking
for putting out good things.
when someone orders like, "Hey, I want to order the birthday cake," and you drink it, and you're like, "That legitimately tastes like birthday cake." How does that happen? It's amazing. It's not.
if you're using
great,
flavored
but
vodka,
Yeah, there's a.
cheated,
Well,
insert expletive right now. But at any rate, one of my favorite things is I have a Panamanian rum right now that it's a 5-year-old rum. But I find if I make certain cocktails with it, if I put too much sugar in it and any citrus, like if I put lemon to it, it has this deepest chocolate profile. And then I'm forced to recall the lemon drop. When you sprinkle sugar on top of a lemon, it triggers your palate like it's chocolate.
Okay.
I don't
right.
understand the chemical, but it all is just the way your palate reacts to certain combination of flavors that make it magical.
Yeah,
However,
it is
three
ma-
wise men
Magical is the right
don't
word.
do
Like,
it. There's nothing wise
Well,
about
yeah,
it.
you know,
Yeah.
tonight we might be drinking a lot of drinks tonight, and we have. But
We had 4.
we had 4, which four in an hour and 40 minutes, which is
4 parcels.
4 partials.
Yeah.
Don't drink your
responsible.
life away. Be responsible. Reach out if you are having a problem. Don't seek shelter. Reach out to somebody.
I do want to mention one of the gentlemen on the chat, John. He had brought up the veteranscrisisline.net.
Yeah.
He wanted to put that out there, that it was another resource. And these, we had thrown out a lot of websites. We've thrown out a lot of resources. We will put those on our Facebook page if you want to
absolutely
join that. We'll put that on there to have a lot of links to that.
Yep.
So I think we're coming to the end of this talk.
We are.
We're going to wrap
Thanks
it
for
up.
joining us, John.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
John's one of the top 5 greatest people on the planet.
He
I'm
really
certain
is.
of it.
He
Good
really
guy.
is. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Drink Talk. We have been talking about suicide awareness. We have been talking about
Very tough topic.
I know,
Very
very
tough
topic. And but we have had a very good bartender
Yeah.
on here. Thank you,
Very
Elzer.
good.
And
for
we've had a
coming.
very good talk. I mean,
Very good. By
Master bartender.
almost
And-
went 2 hours. I mean,
And I commend you all for keeping it light enough.
Right, yeah. It was a tough topic, but I mean, without interjecting humor, because you don't want to interject humor
but
into
we
a
had
topic
some
like this.
laughs, and which was good.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
at the
there-
right moments.
kept it light enough. So thank you for joining us, Elzeri. I
Pleasure.
appreciate that. My name's Brian,
I'm Britt.
and we have been on an episode of Drink Talk, and we have been drinking on what was that? What was the-
Rum.
Yes,
We've
but
been
what was
drinking
there
on
was the side name of
the
it?
Deveron.
Devron. Yes, the Devron,
Yes.
and we have been
Naval strength.
right. I'm Brian Britt, and Mike has been joining us again, and Elzeri is new. Oh, dang it!
It's all right.
That's my $1 in the tip jar there.
I'm sure he'll be back again now that he knows what the deal is.
Yep.
I'll bring more booze.
Fair enough.
Thanks for joining us.
Good night. All right. Well, hey, we'll just have to say goodbye to Facebook here in 3, 2, 1. Goodbye, Facebook. See you later.
Awesome.